Good afternoon and good morning. This is James Loy of Loyalty360, welcoming you to our ongoing Thought Leadership and Loyalty series. Today we have Lior Arusi, President and CEO of the Strativity Group, a customer experience and culture design transformation firm working with brands and companies around the world. So Lior, thank you for joining us today, and you recently did a Loyalty360 webinar with us, so we'd like to follow up on some of that content a bit. And first off, how do you think social media is being used differently today than maybe a year ago?
Well, we're definitely seeing organizations and brands are engaging with social media in a wide variety of new experimental ways. So if in the past it was about basic customer engagement, today we're seeing social media serving as part of the customer service environment, as well as part of the dialogue with customers in order to understand their tastes and preferences and so on and so forth. So companies that keep on exploring and brands and trying to figure out how the social media channels are going to actually complement their current engagement with customers and looking for ways to expand and make that relationship more authentic and bring their authentic voice into the dialogue.
And how do you see that changing in the next year or so across all industries?
So one of the things that we are facing today with social media is while they are providing an additional channel of communications with customers, customers themselves are defining themselves as a new brand. So if social media until now was focusing predominantly on adding or layering the brand story into the customer's life, customers are now saying, stop, actually I am part of the brand now. I am my own brand. And the question is, how are you going to incorporate yourself into my ecosystem? How are you going to be purposeful and meaningful into my situation? So if in the past, the brand was there and the customer was over here, now they're playing an equal situation where the customer is saying, it's time for you to become loyal to me. So one of the challenges for brands is going to be from a relationship and engagement with the customers. It's not about the customers engaging with your brand, but it's about you finding the way to engage with their brand. So that will be one meaningful change. The next one is we will see a shift from tactical and incremental social media usage to a much more strategic area. So oftentimes when we look at social media, we're launching different type of channels, be it Instagram, be it Twitter, be it Periscope, be it Facebook, but we never really stepped back and said, what is our current customer journey and how does social media really fit within that? How does it complement, amplify, and ultimately provide the type of value that we want to provide to our customers, but now through additional channels? And I think we will have to go and look at the complete customer journey and ask different types of questions. Instead of saying, what is our relevant language or the tone of voice in an Instagram experience, the question should be, what is our customer journey? What do we want to achieve with our customers? And then how does Instagram actually amplify or enhance that versus looking at them in an isolated way? So one change is going to be customers are going to be their own brand, and we're going to have to become loyal to them. And the second one is we're going to have to look at it much more strategically and weave them into the customer journey that he or she are already experiencing with us today.
And what about new media? What kind of new media are your clients using to drive customer loyalty? Of course, Facebook, was the big thing. Now people may be moving away from it a bit. Twitter was big, and you mentioned Instagram is more popular now too. So what are people focusing on today?
Actually, our customers, our clients are actually taking a step back. Instead of going with the fear, uncertainty, or doubt, or FOMO, the fear of missing out, and each time they talk to another digital agency and said, oh, there's a new channel that some developers in Finland just came up with, you've got to be there because if you're not there, you're going to miss all the opportunities. I think CMOs are starting to become much more strategic about it and saying, stop that. We don't need to be everywhere. We need to be where it fits our game, where it fits our narrative, where it fits our purpose. And they're actually stepping back and they're saying, it's not about chasing the latest channel. It's not about chasing the latest app out there. It's about finding where do we belong. And what, especially from a loyalty standpoint, the first thing that they do is they're starting to look at what is the correlation between the CRM and the customer actual behaviors and activities on social media. Is placing a picture of your customer with your ketchup going to make any big difference out there? Because if it's not, maybe that's just not the way, it's not the kind of thing that we need to go and chase out there. So what we are seeing here is actually a growth and maturity and discipline that was missing in social media because it oftentimes was driven by hype, by the fear of missing out, the famous FOMO, and we're starting to realize there are so many out there. Not all of them are relevant to us. Not all of them is where we want to hang out with our customers, and we need to be very strategic about it and correlate it to actual customer behaviors, customer spend, customer loyalty, in order to demonstrate that the two are connected and related.
And to follow up on some of the key points from your webinar, as far as two-way relationship building goes, what are some of the challenges there? Because often the debate has been about how often do we answer, or do we answer everybody, or are we selective in our answers? That still seems to be one of the key considerations when building a social media strategy. So what are the challenges there?
So I'm going to take a very tactical example in order to illustrate some of the changes. So for many organizations, one of the easier applications of social media was customer service, especially on Twitter. And a lot of brands are, in fact, using it as a customer service method. And I had a problem with a major hotel here in New York City. I stayed there overnight. It was a very lousy stay. Everybody was bad. And I submitted my complaint into two channels. The first one was the traditional call center, and the second one was Strativity, where I voiced my opinion. I'm a platinum member in this chain, and the responses that I received from the two channels was completely different. In the call center, ultimately I received a letter that told me that if I will come back to the hotel, I might be upgraded, just let them know. On TripAdvisor, I was basically offered 2 nights free of charge to come back to the hotel and experience it. And that discrepancy was completely insane. It's actually teaching our customers to shame us because it's the only way they can get a resolution, as opposed to thinking about what can we do to empower our employees and not train our customers to wash the dirty laundry and air the dirty laundry out there in social media. So when we are thinking today about social media, thinking about using it is all about how do we find ourselves in the right place with the right dialogue with the right customers, as opposed to trying to catch them in every place they're going to be, as opposed to trying to be everything to everyone. Because the truth of the matter is, even in a physical world, we're not with our customers every time that they use our product. And they have their own creativity and their own manifestation of how they use it. We need to be very strategic about what channels, what social media platforms will serve our purposes to ultimately drive the customer loyalty.
You also mentioned enhanced creativity during the webinar too. Was that in terms of using social media overall or being creative within a specific channel?
So building on what you asked me before, the customers are seeing themselves as their own brands. They're broadcasting right now to their fans out there. Every customer today has their own CNN network, their private one between their Twitter, their Instagram, their Periscope, their Facebook. They are broadcasting to all their followers. They are their own brand. They're not looking at our brand as a final product. They're looking at our brand as part of their creative process to create new experiences, and new narratives, and new stories. And they constantly need to create one because they're all broadcasters. Customers in the past were not broadcasters. They weren't looking for the news. They didn't need to feed their followers with interesting stuff about their life. Now they do. So they are now taking brands, and instead of using them, they are leveraging them as a platform to basically broadcast their life story, what they stand for, what they love to do, what's fun for them, and so on and so forth. And this is a radical change from the products and the services that we used to create to what customers want to do with them today. So if it was in the past used for personal gratification, now it's being used for public demonstrations, for public usage. Your customers now are celebrities who are basically broadcasting your products, and they're using them in different ways. And that's part of what I mentioned to you about that brand-to-brand relationship as opposed to brand-to-customer relationship that we used to have in the past. That requires a tremendous amount of free thinking. What does your brand stand for? Are you willing to let go your ego and allow your customers to be an equal brand in the process? Are you recognizing it, or are you still using the old thinking of we are at the top, we are the brand, and they are subservient to us? But the nature of creativity that I was referring to is our customers are now using our products and services in a much more creative way as a platform to enhance and make their life and life story and broadcast to their fans in a much more interesting way. And that is a completely different way of looking at our product than just being a toothpaste or a ketchup or a pair of shoes.
Also, interactive feedback was something you touched on. Recently, we spoke to a big grocery chain in Europe, and a few weeks ago, and it seems that Facebook Messenger is the way many people there are interacting with the brand as far as handling customer service. But here in North America, it seems to be more native Facebook or Twitter. So how do you see brands reacting to interactive feedback? Or how should they react?
So I would say, first and foremost, brands today are behaving almost like they're being hijacked by their customers. When it comes to social media, the fear of responding incorrectly, the fear of standing up to customers is paralyzing. I think the one case where we saw a different approach is with Delta when they responded to Ann Coulter about her complaints, and they actually stood up for them, and they got tremendous amount of like, yay, this is going great. Brands need to have their own confidence in social media and look at themselves not as subservient to the customers and not to be afraid of every complaint. By the way, one of the things that we often advise to our clients, when a customer is complaining on Twitter or on Facebook, the first question that we advise them to ask is, have you tried the call center? And if the answer is no, I haven't, if I haven't tried a contact center, that tells us already what is your mindset. You're not trying necessarily to resolve the problem, you're trying to get yourself some free fame at the expense of the brand, and maybe some freebies in the process. Because if you honestly, truly tried the contact center and it didn't work, and then you approach with more public platforms in order to get the social media issue resolved, the customer complaint resolved, I get that. But if you didn't give us the courtesy of an intimate dialogue before you go everywhere and broadcast how bad we are, that's just not right. And I think brands need to learn to stand up to customers, not to be afraid by the loudest, most ridiculous user. In every customer base today, you have people at the fringes who are probably misusing your product. We cannot cater to all of those people. And we need to be focused on the right ones and develop the right tone of voice to have an equal relationship, as opposed to approaching them with complete fear and paralysis and just trying to shut down the negativity, which is where a lot of the customer service related social media is all about. You see people who are just trying to shut down negativity at all costs.
And finally, with regards to community building, one of the most fascinating things that we see a lot is times when, a well-built community will come in and defend the brand, and the brand will really not have to do anything. But it's the fans that advocate and say, no, like, I had a great experience. So what do you find with the challenges and opportunities with community building?
So here's another example where you see a herd trend as opposed to actually a rational thinking. So everybody's rushing to communities because it's the latest issue there, and again driven by digital media, digital agencies that are trying to just get everybody on as many platforms as possible. But community doesn't make sense for everyone. You need to look at the frequency of your product usage, the nature of your relationship with customers. Your product may not lend itself to a community, or your community will be very small, or you'll build a community and then they don't have a lot to say to each other because they don't really have much in common. So if you go, for example, and build a community for a healthcare chronic disease like a dialysis or diabetes, yeah, this is a life relationship, and yeah, there's a likelihood that patients will engage in a much higher frequency. But if you're going to build a community for your once-in-a-lifetime resort experience in Thailand, well, I did it once, but after that I left. I'm not there anymore. The experience was great at the time, but I'm not coming back, and this was once-in-a-lifetime thing. I'm not going to be there forever. If you build a community for brides, bear in mind that eventually they'll get married, and they're going to leave your community because that's done. So we need to think about, again, how does the community help us serve the purpose of relationship with customers? And if the frequency and recency of relationship with the customers lends itself normally to communities, by all means do it. And when I saw some of the technology players using communities in order to create peer-to-peer customer service and support, it was brilliant. It made sense, and they actually did help each other. But in some other situations, your community is not that active, or they're not going to have a lot of things to say. Again, think about it again. How does it serve the ultimate customer journey, your strategy with your customer? Don't treat social media as a separate entity, as a bunch of experiments, but layer it on top of the customer journey and make sure that it's strategic for you and you're using it for a strategic purpose.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again for talking with us today and for all of your insights.
Thank you very much for having me.